Welcome back to another MGD project tutorial. In this lesson, we're going to be making a top-down zombie shooter. It's going to be complete with animations, an in-game shop where you can buy new weapons, custom sounds, and background music. So before we get started on the tutorial, I'm going to need you guys to go into the description of this video, click on the link, and download the folder, zombie art. And inside this folder will be all the resources we need to make the game. Cool. Once that's done, come to Construct Free, and we'll start a new project. This project's going to be called Project Z, and the viewport size is going to be 480 by 480. Now let's do our project cleanup. So simply click on the layout, and we're going to change the layout size to 480 by 480. And then we're going to rename our layout, call it main menu. And we're going to rename our event sheet to main menu EVT. Cool. Now we're going to add in a nice background image to really make our main menu stand out. So simply right click, insert new object, sprite, and we're going to call it main BKG. I'm going to load this image from a file, and it's called menu BKG. Now, our image is a lot bigger than our layout, so if you hold shift and scale it down, you want to, because our background image is rectangle, but our viewport is a square, you won't be able to get all of the image in, but just try and get as much as you can. Try and get it in a nice position so you can see the pathway. Once you think you've gotten a good position, give it a quick preview and see how it looks. That looks really good for me. Now let's add in the buttons that will go over the top of our menu. Insert a new object, sprite, and I'm going to call this play button. I'm going to color mine. I'm going to make it red with white text to make it really seem scary. Text the button a bit darker. Cool. And then I'm going to copy and paste this. Now that I've got my two buttons, I am going to create a new object called text. It's going to be text, and it's going to be called play txt. I'm going to put it over the top of my first button. We'll make it size 25. We're going to change the color to white, and then we're going to horizontally align it and vertically align it. Let's change this text to say play. Now let's create another text object. So we're going to double click on our screen, text object, and it's going to be called shop text. So in the future, we'll be creating a shop where you can buy different guns and upgrades. So we're going to have to make a button for that. Again, it's going to be 25 size, white text, and we're going to center horizontally and center vertically. Let's change the text to say shop. Cool. But we don't really know what this game is called yet. So let's give it a nice text object up the top, which will display the name of the game. Double click again, text, and we're going to call this main title. Let's say 40 this time for the size. We'll make it white again. Center align. We're going to call it, give it the text property, Project Z. Cool, now that looks really awesome. So before we wrap up, let's simply create our game layout and then get our buttons working to go to the different layouts. So if you come to the top right hand side, we're going to right click on layouts, and we're going to add a layout. We're going to add an event sheet as well. And we're going to rename this to level 1. Actually, let's just call it game. There's only going to be one level in this game. So we're just going to call it game, and we're going to call its event sheet game EVT. Now we're going to double click on main menu EVT. We're going to add some code. So we're going to go add event. Oh, we don't actually have a way to click our buttons yet, do we? So we're going to have to go back to main menu, double click on our screen. We're going to find mouse. The mouse is our method of controlling our character today. Now that we've added the mouse object, let's go back to main menu EVT, add event, mouse, on clicked object, and the object is going to be play text, not the button, because the button is going to be used for the shop and the text, so just play text. And our action is going to be system, go to layout, game. Now that we've got our main menu created, let's start working on our game layout. We're going to come to the top right hand side of our screen and just double click on the game layout. And we're going to change some settings. We're going to change the size of the layout to 1200 by 1000. Make sure you scroll out so you can see the whole layout. And we're going to change the name of the layer down the bottom right to BKG. And we're going to add a background to our game. So right click insert, and we're inserting a sprite called BKG. Let's load it from a file, and it's called BKG. Now, this image is exactly the same size as our layout, so now we just need to position it in the center. The best way to do this is just to click on our sprite and make its position half the size of the layout size. So half of 1200 is 600, and then half of 1000 is 500. It'll be placed directly in the center of our screen. Now that it's placed, we're going to lock it so it can't be moved. We're now going to right click on our BKG layer and add a layer to top. And we're going to call this new layer walls. With walls selected, we're going to right click and we're going to add a new object, a sprite, and we're going to call it walls. I'm going to make my walls nice and red and just color in a square object. Now let's add some behaviors on our wall. So make sure you've got your wall selected, and we're going to go behavior, add behavior, solid. We're also going to go into its properties and make sure that it's not visible. So you need to uncheck initially visible. Once you've done that, we're going to start decorating our map using our walls. Now what our walls do is help our zombies know where they can see and where they can't see. It also helps our zombies know which walls it can go through and which walls it cannot. So we're going to decorate our map using these walls. So everything that you think the zombie should be able to walk through, put a wall around. So I'm going to first create a barricade around the entire map, so no zombies can walk off the map. And all I'm doing is simply just copy and pasting the objects. So if you click on your object, you can either right click and copy and then right click and paste, or you can use Control-C, Control-V. You want to be careful with the thickness of your walls. You do not want your walls too thick, just in case your player or the zombies get stuck inside them. You don't have to be too meticulous. And we're going to keep. Now that we've done the border, let's do some of these buildings. Just keep simply redoing this process over and over again until you've got all of the walls that you think should be blocked off. This is your game, so you can decide which buildings and which outside terrain should be interactable or not. One thing I would like to advise you guys about is the size of your doorways. Now, you want to make sure that your doorways are wide enough that the player and the zombie can get out. So you want to make sure that you leave a nice big gap, bigger than what it actually shows. That way it's very easy for the zombie to walk out. Cool. Now, I just want you to repeat this process on all the walls that you want to, and I'm going to give you an illustration of what I've done previously to give you guys an example of what should be blocked off. So as you can see in this example, I've blocked a lot of the walls in the foreground, and I've also blocked off a lot of the buildings. Now, another word of caution is this building to the top right. It's very complicated, so I would not put walls inside it, only put walls outside it. Once you're satisfied with the walls that you've placed, we're going to come to the bottom right hand side and we're going to lock our walls layer. This is so now you can't move any of our walls that we've placed, and they're set in place. We're then going to right click on our walls layer and add another layer to top. We're going to call this player. Then we're going to create our player object. So right click on our screen, insert new object, sprite, and we're going to call the sprite player. Now we're not going to load this one from a file. What we're going to do is we're going to come down to our animations frame section on the bottom. We're going to right click and import frames from file. And the file we're looking for is handgun, idle, and we want all of the frames inside idle. So you can do this by clicking and dragging to select all of them, or you can click on the first one, scroll down to the bottom one, hold shift and click on the last one, and click open. Now we've got one blank frame, so we're going to have to click on that and press the delete key to remove it. Now as you can see, the collisions aren't quite right, so we're going to click on our collisions. We're going to right click on frame 1, make sure frame 1 is selected. We're going to right click on our image and we're going to go guess the polygon shape. That looks good. Then we're going to right click again and we are going to apply to whole animation. This means that now every frame has the same collision box. Now let's click on edit the image points and we're going to add a new image point. So to do that, right click in the blank space, add new image point, and it will give us image point 1. With image point 1 selected, we're going to click on the tip of his gun. So this will be where the bullets spawn and get fired from. Cool. Now one last thing to do inside here is we are going to decide how fast to play these frames. So we're going to click on animation 1 in the top right. We're going to rename it to idle. And we're going to change its speed property to 19 frames a second. And we're going to loop. 19 frames a second with looping. And now we've got our nice character. He's a bit big, so we're going to zoom right in and we're going to make him small enough that he can fit inside of the doorway. So about 34:29 should be about right. Now that we've got our player in the game, let's give him some movement behaviors. So for this video, we'll be using a new type of movement behavior we haven't used before, and that's called 8-directional movement. Basically what that means is we can allow our character to move in 8 directions. Now to do that, we're going to have to use the keyboard. So we're going to have to right click and insert the keyboard. Cool. With the keyboard added, we're going to click on our player. We're going to go into behaviors. We're going to add a behavior. And the behavior is going to be 8-directional movement. 8 direction. We're going to change our max speed to 100. And we're going to turn off default controls. Now let's come to our game event sheet. So come to the top right hand side of your screen and double click on game event. Now we're going to change our controls from the arrow keys to WASD, which will give us a more of a natural feel. So we are first going to right click and add a group. And we are going to call this group player controls. So we're going to put all the different ways we control our player inside of this group. It just helps us collect our code in a more organized fashion. So we're going to click on Add Event to Player Controls. It's going to be a keyboard event. Key is down. And the first key will be W. We're going to add an action on this. Player, simulate control, up. This will be very familiar to you guys. And we are going to copy and paste this code. So there's 4 of them, and it's just going to be WASD. We're going to double click inside our code and edit it. S. So when we press A, we should go left. When we hold down S, we should go down. And D will make us go right. Cool. Now that we can move in 8 directions, we also want to be able to aim. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another event to player controls. It's going to be a system. We're looking for every tick. So I can't find it, so I'm just going to search for it. Every tick. Cool. And we're going to angle the player towards wherever the mouse cursor is. Our mouse cursor is going to be our gun. So we're going to add an action. Player. And we're going to set angle towards position. And the position will be mouse.x. And the Y position will be mouse.y. Cool. Now, I don't like the style that our mouse cursor is. So I'm going to add another event here outside of player controls. So I'm just going to add an event. System. On start of layout. And the action is going to be mouse. Set cursor style. And we're going to change the cursor style to crosshair. I'm going to move this code above player controls. Cool. And as you can see, the group just allows us to expand or collapse this section of code, helping us to organize where our player controls are. So let's try out our game. Right now we should be able to move, and our player will always aim towards our crosshair. In this video, we are going to get the player's gun firing. So the first thing we need to do is double click on our player. We are going to make sure we select edit the image point. And we are going to select frame 0. Click on image point 1 and make sure that its image point is on the end of his gun. Once you've got that, we're going to right click on image point 1 at the top left and apply to whole animation. Basically what this does is it adds image point 1 on every frame of its animation. So it doesn't matter where his animation frame is up to, it'll fire from his gun. Cool. Now let's add our bullet to our game. So we're going to add a new object, sprite, called bullet. We're going to load it from a file. And I've made a name to your bullet called bullet inside of your zombie art folder. And just make sure that the collision polygons are perfect. Cool. Now the size of this bullet will be 5 by 2.5. It's going to be very small. So with this very small bullet selected, we're going to add some behaviors. So we're going to add the bullet behavior. That's it. So let's do some coding. So come into your game event sheet. Now, when you fire a gun, guns have bullets in real life. So we're going to model our gun around that, and we're going to add ammo to the game. So we're going to right click and add a global variable, and it's going to be called pistol ammo. Now we're calling it pistol ammo because later on we're going to be adding different guns, and they'll all have their own separate ammo type. Now we're going to have to add an action on the end of on start of layout. So add action, bullet, destroy. And we're also going to add another action, which is system, set value of pistol ammo to 10. So at the start of the game, you're going to get 10 bullets. Now let's add a new group. So we're going to right click, insert new group. And we're going to call this bullet. So inside of our bullet group will be all the code we need for our bullets to work. So we're going to add an event to bullet. And our first event will be when bullet on collision with another object, wall. So when the bullet hits a wall, we're going to destroy our bullet. So add action, bullet, destroy. We're now going to add our event that actually fires our bullet. So add event, mouse, on click. Now, when we click our mouse button, we need to check our ammo to see if we still have ammo left to shoot. So we're going to right click on this green arrow, click add sub event. And this sub event will be system, compare variable, pistol ammo. So we're going to compare whether pistol ammo is greater than 0. So if pistol ammo is greater than 0, we are going to add an action on the end of this. System, subtract from 1 from pistol ammo, so we're going to reduce the amount of ammo we have. And then we're going to add an action, which is to fire the bullet. So player, spawn another object. The object will be bullet on the layer 2, which is the player layer. And its image point will be 1, which is the tip of the gun. Now we just need to angle the bullet. So we're going to go add action again. Bullet, set angle towards position. It's going to be mouse.x and mouse.y. Now when we move around, we should be able to click and fire our gun until we run out of ammo. Now that our gun works, let's work on reloading our ammo after we run out of bullets. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on our player. And we're going to come to the right side under animations. And we're going to right click it. We're going to add another animation. This is going to be our reload animation. So we're going to call it reload. Now we're going to do the same thing we did when we imported our other frames. We're going to right click down the bottom under reload frames. And we are going to import frames from file. Now this is under handgun reload. Now again, you want to click on the first one, scroll down to the bottom, shift, and then click on the last one. Delete the empty frame, and we're going to fix these collision polygons. So select collision polygons, click on frame number 0, right click, guess the polygon shape, and then apply to whole animation. Apply to whole animation. Cool. Now, the last thing is to choose the speed of our reload. So we're going to come up to our reload animation, click on it, and we're going to change the speed to 28 frames a second. Now, that's twice the amount of frames we have, so this animation will finish in half a second. Now let's do our code. So come over to game event, and under player controls, we are going to add another event. And it's going to be keyboard when we press R on the keyboard. So on key pressed, R. We are going to, first we're going to empty our clip. So we're going to set the value of pistol ammo to 0. Then we're going to play our action. So add another action. We're going to play our animation. So player, set animation, and the animation is going to be reload. We are then going to wait 0.5 seconds because that's how long the animation takes. And then we're going to play our idle animation again. So add action, wait 0.5 seconds. Then we are going to add another action, player, set animation to idle. And then we're going to make our pistol ammo full. So add action, system, set value of pistol ammo to 10. Let's try that out. Should be able to fire our gun 10 times, then press R to reload, and then fire again. So the next step now is we need to display the amount of ammo we have in our clip. So we're going to come to our game layout, and we're going to add another layer. So right click on player layer, add layer to top, and we're going to call it HUD. Now with HUD selected, we're going to come over to its properties, and we're going to turn parallaxing to 0 times 0%. What this means is when the player moves the screen, we are going to make sure that everything on the HUD layer stays on the screen rather than follows the player. You'll see later on. So, with the HUD layer selected and our parallaxing 0 times 0, we're going to insert a new text object. We're going to call this ammo text. And we're going to put it in the top left-hand corner of our screen, just above here. We're going to change the size of this text to 25. We're going to change the color to white. And we're going to change the text to say ammo, semicolon, 10. Because that's what you'll start the game with. We're also going to make sure that our horizontal and vertical alignment are both center. Now this looks a bit big, so let's turn it down to 25. 20. 20, that looks good. So now that we've got a display on our screen, let's add some code to make sure it updates whenever we fire the gun or reload. So we come into our game event. So again, we need to update the text every time we change the amount of ammo we have. So the first one will be when we reload. So we're going to add an action on the end of reload. And it's going to be ammo text, set text. It's going to be ammo, colon, space, just like we did before. And we're going to press Shift 7 to get an ampersand. And we're going to add pistol ammo to the end. Now we're going to right click on this line of code and click copy. And then we're going to click on our bullet set angle towards down here under left click. And we're going to right click and paste. That'll paste the ammo text code under here, and that's all we need to do. Now when we play our game, ammo should update based on when we shoot. Now as you notice, when it goes from 10 to 9, it moves. So we are going to have to turn off center align horizontal. So we'll leave that at left align. Try it again. Yep, works perfectly. Now there's one last thing we need to do to our player before we start moving on to making our zombie, and that is making our camera follow our player as he walks around the map. So we're going to click on our player really quick, and we're going to add a behavior, scroll to. Now that we're finished with that, we can move on to making our zombies. So first of all, we're going to come down to our layers area down the bottom right, and we're going to lock our player and HUD. Then we're going to create a new layer called zombie, and we're going to drag it underneath HUD. Cool, now let's create our zombie. So we're going to right click and insert a new sprite called zombie. And we are going to insert it just like we inserted our player animations. So we are going to right click down the bottom, import frames from files. We're looking for zombie. And again, just click on 0, come down to 16, shift click to select them all, and click OK. Remove frame 0. Now we need to set its collision polygons. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give a pretty generous collision polygon, just somewhere about there. And then we're going to apply the whole animation. Now we need to run through our images to make sure that it's pretty general and gets most of the zombie's body in. Cool, just like that. Now we're going to increase the animation speed. So if we click on the animation at the top right, we want to turn the speed up to about, let's say, 20 frames a second, and we're going to loop. Now we want our zombie to be about the same size as our player. So just shift drag until it's about the same size. And then if we press play, you'll see the zombie should animate. So right now our zombie is pretty boring. So let's give it some movement behavior and get it to chase our player around the map. So with our zombie selected, we're going to click on behaviors, and we're going to add 2 new behaviors that we've never used before. First one is going to be line of sight, which basically means if it sees a certain object, it'll behave a certain way. And we're going to change the cone of view to 180, which means it can only see what's directly in front of it or to the sides. And then we're going to add a new behavior. And this one is going to be called Pathfinder, which means every few seconds it'll get the location of the player and move towards it if it can't see the player. Now we're going to change the max speed of Pathfinder from 200 to about 130. Cool. Now let's get to our code. So if we go to our game event, we're going to close both of these, and we're going to add a new group called Zombie. Now for our zombie, we're going to add an event. It's going to be zombie has line of sight to object. So basically, can it see an object? And the object is going to be our player. If that's true, we want to add action zombie, and we're going to turn off its pathfinding because we don't want it to find a path if it can see the player. We just want it to chase our player. So we're going to go set enabled to disabled, and then we're going to angle our zombie towards our player and move. So zombie set angle towards position, player.x and player.y. Cool. And then we're going to make our zombie move forward. So add action, zombie, move forward, and we want to move 2 pixels. I think it's 2 pixels every tick. Cool. Now we're going to get all of our code here, and we're going to right-click copy, and then we're going to paste it. And we're going to remove these 2 bottom lines of code, and we're going to change it from set pathfinding disabled to enabled. So if you double-click on the code at the end, we're going to change it to enabled, and then we want to click on the event code down here, and right-click on it, and click invert. So I'm going to do that again. Select just the code in here, make sure the rest isn't highlighted. Right-click and click invert. Basically what this means is if the zombie can see the player, ignore pathfinding and run towards the player. But if you can't see the player, use pathfinding. So what is pathfinding? Well, let's set it up. We're going to add an event. So add event to zombie, system, every X seconds, and we're going to make these X seconds 4 seconds. So every 4 seconds, the zombies are going to find out where the player is and run towards that location. So add action, zombie, and under pathfinding, you want to find path. And we're going to find path to the player. So player.x and player.y. We're going to add another event now to zombie. Zombie. And this one is called onPathFound. So once this 4 seconds is up and we've found the path, we are going to execute some more code under here. And that code is action, zombie, move along path. And that should be all the code we need for our zombie to find our player and move towards him no matter where he is. So after 4 seconds, the zombie will get my location and start moving towards it. Right now he can't see me, so he's just moving towards my position. But if I come into line of sight, he'll come straight for me with no delay. Now that our zombie can run around chasing us, let's add some interactions in the game. Such as when we hit the player, we need to back to main menu, and when our bullets hit the zombie, we need to take away some of its health. So to start off with, we're going to click on our zombie, and we're going to add a new instance variable. Now this is on the left-hand side in your project properties. And we're going to add a new one called health, and it's going to have an initial value of 100. Now every time we shoot it with a bullet, it's going to lose 25 health until it dies. So we're going to create a new group inside of our event sheet called interactions. We're going to add an event. It's going to be bullet on collision with another object, and it's going to collide with the zombie. So when a bullet hits a zombie, we need to reduce 25 from the zombie's instance variable. So we're going to add an action. Zombie, subtract from. We're going to subtract 25 from health. Now we need to check whether the zombie has more than 0 health. So we're going to right click on our code here. So right click on this little green arrow, add sub event. Now we need to check its health. So we're going to go zombie, compare instance variable. And if its health is equal to or less than, so less or equal, if health is less or equal to 0, we need to die. So add action, zombie, destroy. Cool. Now that our zombie dies when it runs out of health, we need some code for when the zombie hits us and we die. So we're going to add an event to interactions. Zombie on collision with another object, player. Cool. Now I'm going to duplicate our zombie. I duplicated it onto the wrong layer. That's my bad. Oh, I forgot to add some code. Let's go back to game event. We need to add an action on the end of this zombie collision with player. And we need it to be a system. And it's going to be go to layout, main menu. Cool. So now that you've duplicated your zombies, to do that, you just click on your zombie, Control C, and then Control V. And I'm going to shoot one and kill it, and then I'm going to let the other one eat me. So I go back to the main menu. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then a zombie will come, and I'll go back to the main menu. Now, as you notice, the bullets went right through the zombie, so we don't want that to happen. So we're going to come back to our game event, and we're going to destroy the bullet after it hits the zombie. So add action, bullet, destroy. Now that we've got most of our core game done, let's figure out how we're going to spawn our zombies randomly around the map. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our zombie layer. We're going to right click and we're going to insert a new object. It's going to be a sprite called Z-Spawner. I'm going to paint mine green and make it really small. Now with it selected, we're going to make it invisible at the start of the game. So we're going to come to the bottom left here and we're going to uncheck initial visibility. We're going to do something else as well. We're going to add an instance variable onto it. So under instance variables, we're going to click instance variable, add a new one, and it's going to be called ZID. Cool. And its ZID, the first one will be 0. And then we're going to place it in a spot we want zombies to spawn from. So I'm going to put my first one inside this house here. As you can see, it's a big map, so you want to spread them out. So select your Z spawner again, and right click on it, and copy, and start placing them around the map. Now every time you place one, increase the number of ZID. So with the second one selected, I'm going to change the ZID to 1, until I reach ZID 6. So you want a total of 7 spawners. Paste, this is my third one, so its ZID is going to be 2. Try and put your spawners in really interesting locations and spread them out around the map. So my fourth one will have a ZID of 3, and so forth and so on. I have 5, so it must be 4. 5, and I need one more. So I have 6, I need 7. So I'm just going to put another one right in the middle over here. Cool. So once you have your 7 spawners, and they all have a different ZID, ranging from 0 to 6, we can come into our code. Now we're going to create some instance variables here. Our first one is going to be called rand, and it's going to hold a random number that we're going to create every time we want to decide which location to spawn a zombie. We're also going to create another global variable called delay, and this will be the amount of delay between when we spawn our zombies. Now it's going to start at 2, and every time we create a zombie, we are going to turn this down a little bit. That way, as the game goes on longer, the delay between the zombies gets shorter. Cool. Now we're going to come to our code, and we are going to create a new group. So right click, add a new group, and it's going to be called spawn. I'm going to add an event to spawn. It's going to be a system event. It's going to be an every X seconds event. So instead of just using a number, we're going to use our variable delay. So if we type in delay, so every delay, we're going to get a random number between 0 and 6. And this will choose where we spawn our zombie. So add action, system, set value, and we're setting the value of rand to, now this can be quite complicated, so make sure you're following along. Floor, bracket, random, bracket, and you want to do 0 to 7. And then you want to put 2 ending brackets at the end. So floor rounds a number down, so to a whole number. So if you have 0.1 to 0.9, it's going to be counted as 0. So this will give us numbers from 0 to 6. After we've got our rand, we need to choose the Z spawner that has the same ID as the random number we just randomed. So right click on the tab at the end of your code and click add sub-event. And the sub-event will be Z spawner, compare instance variable. So if the ZID is equal to rand, the number we've randomed, the code will be spawn a zombie, and then we're going to minus a little bit from delay. So add action, Z spawner, spawn another object. It's going to be a zombie. We're going to put it on the zombie layer, so that's layer 3. And image point 0 is fine. Then we're going to add another action, and we're going to reduce our delay timer. So system, subtract from delay, and we're going to subtract 0.01. So every time you kill 10 zombies, 0.1 of a second will be taken off our timer. Cool. Now to test this, we are going to go to our project properties, and we're going to click on view, and we're going to change our viewport size temporarily to 1200 by 1000. This will let us see the whole layout. So if we press play now, we'll be able to see the whole screen. So we'll be able to see the zombie spawning. So we've seen one spawn down the bottom right. One just spawned in the graveyard here. So you can tell that the code is working. So now that you know it's working, come back to your project properties and change the viewport size back to 480 by 480. Again, if you've forgotten how to do this, just click on your screen and go to project properties, view, viewport size. Now that our zombies are randomly spawning, let's work on adding some lighting to the game. So we're going to go down to our layers section down the bottom right, and we're going to right click on HUD and add layer to top. And we're going to call this light. Now, drag light underneath HUD because we want our ammo count and eventually our money to be displayed over the top of our lighting, that way it's not hidden. So with light still selected, we're going to come to the top left to our properties here. And we're going to take transparent off. And we're going to change the background color to black. Cool. Now we're going to add an effect on top of our light layer. So again, make sure light layer is selected. Click on effects, add new effect, and we're looking for multiply. With multiply added, we now simply just have to insert a sprite object. So right click, insert new object, sprite, and we're going to call this lighting. Put it in the scene, and we're going to open it from file, and it's going to be inside the folder called light, and here it is, the light object. Simply drop it in your map, and there you go. Now we have a torch that lights up our map. So we're going to position this torch just in front of our player, but first we're going to resize it. So we want our size to be 420 by 420. Cool, just like that. And we're going to come down to our player and we're going to put it just in front of our player. So line up the dot to be around about the center of the player's body and push it out to the front. That way the player can only see what's directly in front of him and a little bit behind him. Cool. Now, with our light object selected, so again click on lighting, we're going to add a behavior, and this behavior is going to be pin. So we're going to pin our light to our player, so wherever our player goes, the lighting will follow. So go into your game event, on start of layout, we add an action, lighting, and we're looking for pin. Pin to object, choose object, and we're going to pin it to our player. Position in angle, and done. Now when we press play, we have a torch that follows the front of our player. This makes the game a lot scarier and a lot more challenging. So now, eventually we're going to put objectives in our game, and it'll make it much harder to find the objectives because you cannot see the whole screen. In this video, we're going to work on balancing our game. I've noticed that, in my opinion, our zombies are too fast, we run out of ammo too fast, and the way that those zombies detect you could be better. So I'm going to show you guys how to change all the things you need to change to balance your game. So the first thing we're going to change is how fast the zombies move. So click on your zombie object in the top right of your screen, and we are going to change our max speed of our pathfinding to about, let's say, 90. So this is just when the zombie's walking around looking for your location. Now, we're going to go into our game event sheet because this is where the rest of our properties are. Now, I'm going to change our delay, which is how long it takes to spawn. I think too many zombies spawn too fast. So I'm going to turn this value up to about 2.8. I'm also going to increase the clip for our ammo. So on start of layout, I'm going to set pistol ammo to about 13. This will allow us to kill 3 zombies in a single clip with 1 bullet allowing to miss. Now we also need to go into our reload, which is in player controls. And we need to set pistol ammo here to 13 as well. Cool. Next, we're going to change how fast the zombie moves once he's spotted you. So we're going to click on the zombie group, and we're going to change the line of sight move forward pixels amount. So right now it moves forward 2 pixels. We're going to change that to about 1.8. And those are most of the things that you're going to need to balance your game. Let's add some roofs to our buildings. So the first thing we're going to do is come down to the bottom right of our screen in our layers section. We're going to lock our light layer, and we're going to uncheck this box next to light layer. What it'll do is it hides the layer, making it so we can see our screen again. Next, we're going to right click on HUD, and we're going to add layer to top, and we're going to call it roofs. We're going to drag this roofs layer between light and zombie. Make sure that our roofs layer is again below light and above zombie. And with it selected, we're going to insert a new sprite. I'm going to call this sprite roofs. I'm going to open it from a file, and it's going to be roof 1. Now before we finish, we're going to add a new frame, and we're going to add roof 2. We're going to add a new frame again, and add roof 3. Now for roof 3, we're going to edit its collision polygons, like so. So we're going to make sure that the whole roof is covered by these dots. So you're going to have to arrange it in this specific fashion. Just like that. Cool. And our final step is to click on animation 1, and we're going to turn the speed down to 0. So our first roof goes over the top left corner, just like so. And then we're going to right click on it and copy, and we're going to paste it down the bottom here. We're going to change its initial animation frame, and you do that by selecting your roof, coming to the bottom left, and we're changing the initial frame value to 1. This will make it the perfect size for this building. Cool. Now we're going to come to the top right, and again we're going to paste in our roof, but this time we're going to change the initial frame to 2. And again, drag it over the building, like so. Awesome. Now we're going to add some code that when we touch these roofs, we're going to make them go invisible. So in our game event, we're going to right click and add a new group called roofs. We're going to add an event to roofs, and it's going to be player is overlapping another object, and we're going to choose roofs. So when the player is touching the roof, we're going to add an action roof set opacity, and we're going to set the opacity to 40%. Now we're going to add another event to roofs. It's going to be player is overlapping another object, roofs again, but this time we're going to select our condition inside the second statement, and we're going to right click on it and click invert. Now this means when the player is not touching any of the roofs, we're going to set the opacity back to 100. So add action, roofs, set opacity. I'm going to set it back to 100. Now when you play your game, whenever you search a room, you'll be able to see inside it, and it'll make the game a lot harder and a lot more interesting. In this episode, we are going to add some objectives to our game. So instead of it being an endless horde surviving game, we're going to have to seek and run around our map looking for objectives in order to win. So to do that, first we are going to get our objective into the game. So we're going to make sure we select our player layer. We're going to unlock it. Remember to lock roofs, we don't need those for now. And it might help to hide them by unchecking the little box next to the lock icon. So again, select the player layer. We're going to right click and insert an object, and it's going to be called objectives. Okay, I cannot spell. Objectives, there we go. Make sure it's a sprite. And we are going to import frames from files. And the files are going to be in zombie art, and it's under objectives. So these 5 sprites here, we want to open them all, remove the 0 frame again, and we're going to click on animation 1, and we're going to turn the speed down to 0 again. Cool. Now these are way too big, so we're going to shrink it down. It don't have to be too small, but it has to be relative to your player, so that's a good size. Mine's around 17 by 16. Awesome. Now we're going to drag this objective off the screen so we can't see it. Our next thing that we're going to make is we're going to insert a new object, and it's going to be the things that actually spawn these objectives. It's going to be another sprite called O-spawner. This will work very similar to Z-spawner. We're going to paint it so we can see it in the editor. And we're going to make it really small. Cool. Now for this, we are going to make the initial visibility invisible. So again, click on your object, come to the bottom left-hand side under Properties, and uncheck Initial Visibility. We're also going to add an instance variable, and it's going to be called OID. Now, we are going to hide 12 of these around the map, and we are going to spawn 5 objectives over these 12 locations. So you have to really explore. So I suggest really hiding these icons. Sorry, these spawners. Each one you add, remember to increase your OID, just like we did with the zombie. And you want to hide at least one objective in every house. 3. So again, 0, 1, 2, 3. So don't forget which number you're up to when you're placing these. So you want to go until you reach OID 11. Then you know you have 12 objectives. One more for 11. Cool. So once you have your 11 spawners down, and you've correctly numbered them from 0 to 11, we're going to go into our game event sheet. So we're going to add a couple of variables now. So we're going to add our first global variable, which is going to be current frame. So each of these 5 objectives that we spawn, they're going to be a different frame of the objective sprite. So this will decide which frame to spawn next. We're also going to add a new variable called, let's say, objective total. So this holds the total number of objectives we have on the map. So if you want more than 12 locations where it could spawn, you need to increase this number to match the number. So we have 12, so I'm going to make the initial value 12. Cool. Now I'm going to add a new, not a global variable, add a new group. I'm going to call this objectives. Now I'm going to add an event to objectives. But before that, we need to actually go back to game. We need to go back to our game layout, and we need to add something really special. So right click, insert new object, and it's called a function. So we're going to search for it, function. And what a function does is it's a group of code that we can call whenever we need to reuse code. So instead of copying the same code 5 times, if we need to call the same code, we just call this function 5 times. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on objectives, and we're going to add sub-event, and it's going to be a function, and it's going to be on function, and we're going to name this function spawn. So we're going to add an action on top of spawn. It's going to be system set value of random to floor bracket random, another open bracket 0, and we're going to go from 0 to objective total. So not objective count, objective total. There we go. Then we're going to put 2 closing brackets. So again, it's floor, open bracket, random, open bracket, 0, comma, objective total, and then 2 closing brackets. With this done, we need to right click on our green arrow on our spawn code, and we're going to add sub-event. And we're going to say, where is our oSpawner? oSpawner, compare instance variable. So if our OID is equal to random, we are going to spawn an object. So oSpawn, spawn another object. I'm going to spawn an objective. It's going to be spawn on layer 1. We're going to set the frame for this objective that we just spawned to whatever the current objective is. So add action, objective, set frame to current frame. Cool. And now we're going to start minusing and adding things that we don't need. So the first thing is we need to increase the number for current frame. So next time we spawn, it's going to be a different object. So system, add to current frame 1. We also need to subtract 1 from our total objectives because we can't choose this objective ever again. So we're going to add action, system, subtract from objective total by 1. And then our final action is going to be oSpawner, set value of OID to -1. That way it can never be randomed again. Now there's only one more piece we need to add onto this. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on oSpawner, on this tab on the end of oSpawner, and we're going to add another sub event. And it's going to be oSpawner, compare instance variable. So if OID is greater than random. So if OID is greater than random, we need to minus all of these OIDs by 1. So oSpawner, subtract from OID, and we're going to subtract 1. Now that we've got our spawn code ready, let's actually spawn our objectives. So we're going to come under on start of layout up the top, and we're going to add an action. It's going to be a function, call function, and we're going to put in 1 speech mark, and spawn will pop up underneath. Simply select that and click done. Then we're going to press Ctrl C and then Ctrl V, and that'll paste our code. So now we have 5 spawn codes, which will spawn 5 objectives on start of layout. We now want to do our interaction between our player and our objective. So what happens when our player actually touches an objective? So we're going to first add a global variable which will hold the total amount that we've collected so far in the game. So we're going to call this collected. We're then going to come down to our objectives group, and we're going to add event to objectives. And it's going to be player on collision with another object, objectives. When we collide, we are going to add action, objective, destroy. And then we're going to add another action, system, add to, and we're going to add 1 to collected. So whenever we touch an objective, we're going to destroy it, add 1 to collected, and then we need to check to see if we have 5 objectives, deciding whether we've won the game. So we're going to right click on our green arrow next to player, and we're going to add sub event. This sub event is going to be system, compare variable, and we're going to see if collected is equal to 5. So if collected is equal to 5, it means we've won the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause the game, put up a text object that says victory or congratulations, you won, or you survived. So we're going to add action, system, set group active. What this does is we're going to disable our movement, we're going to disable zombie movement, and we're going to disable interactions. So that way nothing can kill us while we're in our victory screen. So to do this, all we do is remove these 2 speech marks, and we're going to put our own 1 speech mark in, and it'll give us a drop down of all of them. So we want to disable first zombie, and we're going to set it to deactivated. Then we're going to add action, system, set group again. Do the same thing, add a speech mark, and we're going to remove player controls. Deactivated. We're going to add another action, system, set group active. And the last one we're going to do is interactions, just to make sure we don't die. I'm going to set it to deactivated. We'll eventually put in code here which says, congratulations, you won. And then we're going to add action, system, wait. Wait, I'm going to wait 2 seconds. And then we are going to go to our main menu. So go to layout, main menu. Cool. So let's get our text in for our victory. And also our text in for our objectives. So click on your game layout. Now for here, we want to unlock our HUD and select it. And we're going to add a new text object. And this is going to be objectives txt. We're going to put it up the top on the opposite side of where our ammo is. Going to change the text to say objectives, comma, space, and we'll put 0. Size 20, and the text will be white. Now we're going to insert another object again, text, and this will be called victory. For this one, it's going to be really big, just to show that we're really proud that we lived. Put it somewhere in the middle. And we're going to change the text size to 40. And we're going to change the text to say survived. Make the text white. And we'll center vertically and horizontally. Actually, let's make it say you survived. Let's put in an exclamation mark just to really push it home. Cool. Now we want to set the initial visibility of this to invisible, so uncheck initial visibility. And when we win, we're just going to make it visible. So let's go to our game event and finish up our code. Don't forget to lock your HUD layer on the way out. So our first lot of code needs to come underneath on collision with objectives. So we're going to add an action here, and we're going to update our objectives text. So objective text, set text. We're going to say objectives, colon, space. And then we're going to put a space on the outside, shift 7 for ampersand, and we're going to put collected. And finally, we're going to add action on the bottom underneath collected equals 5. And it's going to say victory, set visible, and we're going to set visible, set to visible. And we're going to move this up before the wait 2 seconds. Now when we collect all of our objectives and win the game, we'll get a nice victory screen and then go back to our main menu. If you've tested your game up to this point, you may have noticed that your objectives don't behave the way they should. So we're going to hotfix that in this episode. So we're going to go to our game event sheet. And we're going to go down to our objectives group. Open up our spawn function. Open up our OID equals random. And we need to move this block of code outside of this block of code. To do that, we simply click on the tab down here. And we're going to drag it above OID equals random. And then we're going to drag OID equals random above this code here. So it should look just like this. Cool. Now, on start of layout, we need to reset all of our variables and unlock our 3 groups that we deactivated before. This means that when we win our game and start again, the game starts fresh. So we're going to add action on start of layout. System, set value of collected to 0. We're going to drag that up to the top. We're then going to click on our collected equals 0. and we're going to copy and paste it 3 times. And make sure all of these values are at the top and not at the bottom. And then we're going to change them to delay, current frame, and objective total. So the first one needs to be set to current frame, which equals 0. Then we need to change delay back to 2.8, sorry, or whatever you changed your delay to. And objective total needs to be 12. Awesome. Now the last thing we need to do is unlock the groups we locked when we won the game. So we're going to scroll back down to our objectives group, open up player on collision with objectives, and we're going to click on set group, the top one, and then we're going to hold shift and click on the bottom one. This will highlight all 3 deactivated codes. Then we're going to right click on them and copy, scroll all the way to the top, back to on startup layout, click on collected to 0, right click and click paste. We now have to change these all to say activated. So we're going to click on them one at a time and change them back to activated. Now when you play your game and finish it and start again, everything should function normal. In this episode, we're going to add a money system into our game. We're going to make it so when a zombie dies, it's going to have a percentage chance to drop a certain amount of money for us to collect to buy guns later on. So to get started, we're going to select our player layer, and we're going to select our walls layer. So we want it on walls. We're going to unlock walls, make sure walls are selected, and we're going to insert a new object. It's going to be a sprite called money, and we're going to load it from a file. And it'll just be called money inside your zombie art folder. Now this is a bit big, so we're going to make it a lot smaller. It's up to you how big you want your coins to be. About that size should be pretty good. Awesome. So once you've got your coins appropriately sized, drag them off the screen. And then we're going to go to our game event sheet. First, we need a number to random whenever we kill a zombie. So we're going to need a global variable. So right click and add a global variable. And it's going to be called zRandom. We need to add another global variable which holds the amount of value of money that we have total. So right click, add global variable, and we're going to call this global variable money. Now we need to find where we kill our zombies. So I'm pretty sure it's in interactions. Yep. So interactions, under bullet on collision with zombie. When we check if it's dead, we need to spawn a coin. But first we need to decide what our percentage chance to spawn is. So we're going to add action on this code here, which is destroy zombie. And we're going to system set value of zRandom to random bracket 0, 100. So what this is saying is we're going to set zRandom to a number between 0 and 100. So it's going to have a percentage chance, and we want that percentage chance to be 20. So we're going to right click on the tab for our zombie health less than or equal to 0. We're going to add sub event, system, compare variable, and we're going to say if zRandom is less than or equal to 20, so they have a 20% chance of dropping coins, we're going to spawn a coin. So add action, zombie, spawn another object, money, on layer 1, which is our walls layer. Awesome. Now the last piece of code we need to do is we need to create an interaction where the player touches a coin and gets money. So we're going to right click on interactions. We're going to add sub event. And it's going to be player on collision with another object, coins or money. And our action is going to be add $20 to money and then destroy the coin. So the first one is system, set value, sorry, not set value, add to money. I'm going to add $20. Now you can change this amount depending on how much money you want to give the player. And then we're going to destroy the coin. So add action, money, destroy. Now that we can earn money, let's work on a system to actually spend our money. So first, we're going to create a layout for our shop. So if you come to the top right of your screen and right click on main menu, we're going to duplicate it. We're going to call our new layout shop. Then we're going to come just below that and right click our event sheet, and we're going to add a new one called shop EVT. Double click on shop layout, and we are going to edit this a bit to make it look better. So first of all, we're going to remove both the labels off our screen, and we're going to remove the top button but leave the bottom one. This bottom one is going to be our main menu button. It takes us back to the main menu. Cool. So the first thing we need to do here is click on our background out here in the gray, and you want to change your layout properties. You want to change the event sheet to shop event. Now let's get our guns in our store. So we're going to insert a sprite, and we're going to call this gun BKG. So this will be the background that our guns go over the top of. So I'm going to choose gray. So how we do that is you click on your color palette, drag right to the bottom, and then click on the slider and choose the gray you want. Make sure to paint it. Once you've got your background, we're going to change the size to 110 by 210. And then we're going to change the position to 120, 225. I want you to copy and paste this. So copy and paste this gun object, sorry, gun background. And the second one, we want to put that at 240 by 225. Then we're going to paste another one and change its position once again to 360 by 225. Now let's put our guns in. So we're going to insert a sprite called guns. I'm going to open it from file, choose the pistol first. Then we're going to add a new frame, and then choose the AK. Then we're going to add yet another frame and choose the shotgun. Before you close, click on animation 1, and we're going to choose the change the speed to 0. Cool. Let's change the angle to 90 degrees. And we're just going to put this gun in our first slot. Now you want to leave some space at the bottom of your backgrounds. This is where you'll put your button to say whether you want to buy or equip this gun. So we're going to copy this image and then paste it. And then we're going to change the initial frame down the bottom left. We're going to change it to 1, and that'll give us our rifle. And then we're just going to drag this in, just like that. Copy and paste again, and then change the initial frame to 2. And that is just about perfect. Now we just need to put our labels in and our buttons. So let's start off with our buttons. So we're going to click on our main menu button. We're going to copy it and then paste it 3 times, 1 for each gun. And we're just going to put it below the gun like this. Paste. Try and get them as center as possible, but you don't have to be too pedantic. Cool. Now we need our text boxes. So we need 1 text box for each gun, 1 for our main menu, and then 1 to show us our overall money total. So we're going to insert our first text object, and it's going to be called main menu txt. Change the font size to about 22. I'm going to change the text to say main menu. Change the color to white. And and center a line on both vertical and horizontal. Now we're going to do something called cloning. So instead of making 4 other text objects and then changing all those properties again, we're just going to right click on our text object that we've already made and click clone object type. Now when we click, we've got exactly the same object, but it's got a different name. So with your newly cloned object, we're going to come to the top left and we're going to change its name to pistol text. We're going to put this one on our pistol first. Change the size to 15 now, and we're going to make we don't have to change the text at all, but I'm just going to put some new text in there. Owned. Again, right click on our newly made pistol text and clone object type again. Put it on our rifle, and we're going to rename this to rifle text. Right click, clone. For this final one, we're going to call, well, not final, there's one more to go. We're going to call it shotgun text. Clone one last time. Put it in the middle. And this one's going to show us how much money we have. So it'll be money text. We're going to make this one 20, let's say 23. And we're going to make it money. Make it a bit wider. Just like that. Let's actually put a $sign in front of the 0 because it makes more sense. There we go. Awesome. Now our shop, at least visually, is ready to go. And in the next video, we'll work on the code behind it. So let's start working on the code behind our shop. So we're going to go into shop event. And again, make sure your layout at the top left says name shop and event sheet shop event. Cool. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 3 global variables. The first one will be called equipped. So this will show us which gun we've got currently equipped. So it's 2 P's. The second one is going to be called shotgun own. So if this equals 0, it means we haven't paid for the shotgun yet. And if it's 1, it means that we already own it. We're going to do the same with rifle. So we're going to have rifle own. And again, if it's 0, it means we don't own it. And if it's 1, it means we own it. Now we're going to create another function, just like we did before. So I'm going to add an event, function, on function, and I want to call this newly created function change text. So it's going to examine these global variables that we've just created, and based on what they are, it'll change the text on our shop. So if I click on the pistol when I own it, it'll become equipped instead of owned. And if these are to be sold and I have enough money, I click on them, it becomes equipped and I own it. So let's work on that. The first thing we need to do is we need to add an action on the end of change text. And we are going to go pistol text. We've got a lot of text boxes, so it could get confusing. Then we're going to go set text, and we're going to set it to owned. Because you don't have to buy the pistol, it's automatically going to be set to owned, and then we're going to check if it's equipped later. We're going to right click on our function, and we're going to add sub event. And the sub event is going to be system. We're going to compare, and we're comparing if rifle owned is equal to 0. So if rifle owned equals to 0, we need to set the text of the rifle to display how much it costs. So we're going to add action, rifle text, set text. And now it's up to you guys to decide how much you're going to make your rifle costs. I'm going to make mine cost $200. So if they don't own the rifle, the text is going to display $200. I'm now going to click on our newly created statement down here, and I'm going to right click on the tab, and I'm going to add else. This means that we do own the rifle. Rifle own equals 1 basically. And for this one, I'm just going to add action rifle text again, set text, and I'm going to set this text to say owned. Now I'm going to go back up to the top, right click, and add another sub event just like we did before, this time with shotgun text. Basically I'm just repeating the steps we did, but with shotgun instead. So first I need to go system, compare variable, and I'm checking if shotgun own is equal to 0. If it is, then I need to set the text. So shotgun text. I'm going to set text here. And I'm going to say the shotgun, because it's more powerful, it's going to cost $500. Again, I'm going to click on just the shotgun own part, right click, and add an else block. In this else block, add action, shotgun text, set text, and set it's owned. Cool. Now we need to check what we've got currently equipped. So again, come back to the top, right click on our function, and we're going to add a sub event. And this one is going to be system, compare variable, equip. And if equip is equal to 0, which means our pistol is equipped, we're going to add action, pistol text, and we are going to set text. And instead of saying owned, we're going to say equipped. We're going to repeat this process for 1 and 2, 1 being rifle, 2 being shotgun. So system, compare, if equipped is equal to 1, we want to set rifle text, set text to equipped. Right click again, add sub event. If equipped is equal to 2, and this is the last one, add action, shotgun text, set text, equipped. Now that we've got our change text function, we need to know when we need to call it. So we're going to add another event. And the first time I'm going to call it is when the layout opens. So we're going to go system, on startup layout. I'm going to add an action, function, call function, change text. Next is going to be whenever we click on any one of these 3 text boxes, we need to check what's happening and then update our text. So the first one, we're going to add event. It's going to be mouse on clicked object, and the object is going to be pistol text. So because we don't have to buy pistol because it comes with free, this one's a lot faster. So we're going to add action here, system, set value, and we're going to set value of equipped to a 0. And then we're going to add another action, which is function, call function, change text. Awesome. Now for the harder ones. We're going to add event again. Mouse, on object clicked. And this time it's going to be rifle text. Okay, so when they click on rifle text, they need to know whether we own it or not. So we're going to right click on the arrow and add a sub event. And our sub event will be rifle own. So system, compare variable, and we're going to check, do we own the rifle or not? So if rifle own is equal to 0, it means that we don't own the rifle. So we have to buy it. So we're going to right click again on rifle own, and we're going to add another sub event to check if we have enough money. So system, compare variable, and it's going to be if money is greater than or equal to 200, which is how much it costs. So if the player has more than $200 or $200 exactly, we are going to minus that $200, change rifle loan, change equip, and then update the text. So let's do that from the start. First, we're going to add action. Remember to just add action to this money part, don't add action to the rifle loan. The first one is going to be minusing the money, so system, subtract from money, and we're going to subtract $200 from money. We're then going to change rifle loan to 1, so add action, system, set value of rifle loan to 1. We're going to change equipped to 1, add action, system, set value of equipped to 1. What's next? That should be all, and then we just call change text again. So add action, system, sorry, not system, go back, go to function, call function, and we're looking for change text. Awesome. I want you to close this rifle loan part, collapse it by clicking this little triangle, and we're going to right click on rifle loan again and add an else statement. So this statement is just like this up here. We own the rifle already, so we're simply just going to equip it and then change text. So we're going to add an action on the else, system, set value of equipped to 1, and then we're going to call the function. Going to call the function change text. Cool. Now we just need to repeat this process with our shotgun. Add event. Mouse on object clicked. Shotgun text. We're then going to right click and add a sub event. And we need to check our variable shotgun own. So if shotgun own equals 0, again we're going to right click, add another sub event, and we're going to check the money. So system, compare variable, money is greater than or equal to 500 this time. We're going to copy this code here. So all of this needs to come down here. So what we're going to do is we are first going to subtract our money. So add action, subtract from money. I'm going to subtract $500 from money. We're then going to change shotgun own. Value of shotgun own to 1. We're then going to change value of equip. And we're going to change that to 2. And then we're going to call change text. Cool. Now let's add our else statement. So again, collapse the shotgun code. And we're going to right click under here and add else. This is simply add action, set value of equipped to 2. And then we're going to add action, a function. I'm going to call our function change text again. Awesome. Now, every time we change text, we also want to update how much money we've spent or how much money we have. So, under on change text up here, we're going to add another action to it. And that's going to be money text. And we're going to set money text to money, put a colon, a space, and then put a $sign, and then after the final speech mark, put a space, shift 7 for ampersand, and we're going to put money on the end. Awesome. Now there's one last piece of code to finish our shop, and that is we need code for when we click on our main menu to go back to the main menu. So that's as simple as add event, mouse, on clicked object, I think it's main menu text. And the action is simply go to layout, main menu. Now you're ready to go out there, slay some zombies, and see what you can buy in the shop. Now that we can buy our guns, let's work on adding them to the game. So we're going to go over to our game layout. Just double click on your game layout. And we're going to add our animations first. So want to make sure your player layer is unlocked. And we're going to double click on our player. And we're going to go to the animations on the right side, and we're going to make these two animations for the rifle and the shotgun again. So we're going to right click, add animation. We're going to name this animation idle rifle. Set the speed to 19, just like before, and change the loop to active. Now we're going to insert frames from file. Inside your zombie art, you'll find a folder called rifle. Go into the idle, and again click on the first one and shift click on the last one. And if that doesn't work, you can click just besides the image and then click and drag to select them all. Remove frame 0. First, we're going to change our collision polygon to a nice box just around the player. Now, we've all done this before for the pistol, so this should be pretty easy for you guys. Apply the whole animation. Then, we're going to click on Edit Image Points. We're going to right-click and insert a new image point, and then click on the, make sure the image point 1 is selected, and then click on the end of the gun. Cool. Just like that. Awesome. So that's our first animation done. Now we're going to right click and add another one. And this one we're going to name Reload Rifle. Change the speed to, what was the speed of our line? 28? Okay, 28. Make sure it's not looping. And again, we're going to insert frames from files. This time we're going to open the reload. And click and drag, select them all. Remove frame 0. Set. We don't need the origin point for so don't change any origin points. The only thing we want to change on the reload is the collision polygon. Awesome. Once you've got that done, apply the whole animation, and we're going to make our shotgun. So again, right click, add new animation, idle shotgun. Change the speed to 19, make it loop. Now we're going to import our frames from files. And this time, it's going to be called shotgun, idle, and again, just drag them all in. Remove frame 0, change the collision polygon, apply the whole animation, edit the image point, add image point 1, put it on the tip of the gun, apply the whole animation. Then we're going to add our final animation, which will be reload shotgun. Make the speed 28 just like before, not looping, and we're going to import frames from files, reload. Remember to set your collision polygon. Try and keep them relatively the same as they are on the other animations. Apply the whole animation. Awesome. Now that we have our animations in the game, let's work on coding our guns. So we're going to go over to our game event sheet. And the first thing we're going to do is on start of layout, we need to decide which gun we're going to display. So we're going to right click on the tab and the green arrow on start of layout, and we're going to add a sub event. So we've got to check what gun is equipped. So system, compare variable, equipped. So if equipped is equal to 1, we know that that means that we've got the pistol. So we need to add action, player, set animation to idle, just idle. Yeah, we're going to right click on the tab for this equipped equals 0, and we're going to copy, and then we're going to right click on it again and paste, and then we're going to right click one more time and paste again, and we're going to change this to 1 and 2, and we're going to change the animations. So the second one needs to be changed to is equal to 1, and the last one is equal to 2. So we're going to change the middle animation to say idle rifle. and the last one to say idle shotgun. Cool. Now there's only two more things to do. We need to take care of our reload, and we need to take care of our shooting. But we also need to check how much ammo we start the game with. So right now we have this variable called pistol ammo, but we don't just have the pistol anymore. So we need to change this to just be ammo. So right click on your global variable named pistol ammo, and we're going to edit it, and we're going to change the name to just ammo. Now, if you look in your on-start of layout, we've set ammo to 13. But now that we have 3 guns, we need to set the ammo different based on the gun we pick. So we're going to drag this line of code into equipped equals 0. And then we're going to right click on it, copy, and we're going to paste it on top of both idles. Now it's up to you how many bullets are in each gun. For me, my rifle is going to have 30 bullets, and my shotgun is going to have 6 shots. Awesome. Now we're going to come down to player controls, and we're going to take care of the reload animations. So right now, it only takes care of the pistol. So we need to decide what gun we're reloading, just like we did up here. So we're going to right click on our keyboard on R pressed. And we're going to add a sub event, system, compare variable, equipped. So if equipped is equal to 0, that's our pistol code. So we're going to get all of our pistol code up here. So to do that, click on your first item in the list, hold shift, and then click on the last item in the list, and drag that all onto equipped equals 0. We're then going to click on the tab for this set of code, and we're going to right click on that tab and copy. Then we're going to right click again and paste, and right click again and paste again. Now we need to change these for our different guns. The second one, we're going to change to equipped equals 0, and we are going to change our animations. So instead of the normal animation, we're going to play reload rifle. We're then going to wait 0.7 seconds, 0.8 seconds, because we're going to nerf our rifle. It's not going to reload as fast as our pistol does. And then we're going to play our idle animation for our rifle. So we're going to change this from idle to idle rifle. And then we're going to put another wait after that before we reset our ammo. So I want you to click on our wait 0.8 seconds. Right click copy. Right click again and paste. And drag this underneath set animation idle rifle. Once you've done that, double click on our second wait, and we're going to change it to 0.2. This all up means it takes 0.5 seconds to reload our pistol, but it takes 1 second to reload our rifle. We're going to remember to set our ammo to 30. And now we can start on our shotgun. So for our shotgun, if equipped is equal to 2, we're going to set our animation to reload shotgun. We're going to set the wait to 0.8 seconds. Then we're going to change our idle to idle shotgun. And again, we're going to copy and paste our wait time, put it underneath our idle, and change it to 0.2 as well. Set our ammo to 6. And that's all we need to do for our guns to reload them. Now let's do our final bit of code, which is actually firing the guns. So we're going to scroll down to bullet. Now for this one, we are going to right click on our mouse left button clicked section. And we're going to copy it. And then we're going to paste it 2 times, 1 for each gun. Then we're going to add a condition on each of them. So I want you to right click on our green tabs and add another condition, system, compare variable, and we're going to compare equipped. So for the first one, if equipped is equal to 0, For our second one, we're going to right click again, add another condition, system, compare variable, if equipped is equal to 1. And finally, for our third one, we're going to right click, add another condition, system, compare variable, if equipped is equal to 2. Now, our pistol ammo setup is fine. It's exactly how we want it. Now let's come down to our rifle ammo, which is our rifle setup, which is equipped equals 1. Now, that's actually fine as well, because the only difference between the pistol and the rifle is the rifle has more bullets and it takes longer to reload. Now, the one that changes is going to be our on left clicked equipped equals 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another action at the bottom, and it's going to be bullet, rotate counterclockwise 4 degrees. And we're going to drag this above our set text. Now, this set of code here is we're going to have to copy and paste because each one of these is a different pellet. Now, for my shotgun, I'm going to have 5 pellets. So how we're going to do this is we're going to click on player spawn bullet, and then we're going to hold shift down and click on bullet, rotate 4 degrees counterclockwise. This will select all 3 lines of code. And then we're going to right click on them and go copy, and we're going to paste 4 times. 1, 2, 3. That was wrong. So make sure that they're all in the proper order. 4, 5. So the order must be player, and then 2 sets of bullets, and then player, 2 sets of bullets, player, 2 sets of bullets, and so on and so forth. If they start getting mixed up, for example, if there's 2 sets of players, it's not going to work. Cool. Now, our first 3 are fine. For our second 3, I'm going to rotate 2 degrees instead of 4 degrees. For our third pellet, I'm going to remove this third line of code completely. So it will just go straight. For our fourth pellet, I'm going to double click on rotate 4 degrees counterclockwise, and I'm going to change it to negative 4 degrees counterclockwise. For our last pellet, I'm going to click on rotate 4 degrees counterclockwise and change it to negative 2 degrees counterclockwise. Now you could always change this to 4 degrees clockwise and 2 degrees clockwise, but that takes more time. All that's left to do now is buy your gun and test out the code. After testing our game again, I've discovered that there's 2 things that are going wrong in our project so far. Right now, our ammo counter on startup layout doesn't change. So it says we have 10 bullets at the start, no matter what gun we have. So this is something we need to fix. Another problem I've seen is that we're firing bullets out of our chest instead of our gun for when we equip the rifle. So let's change those now. So we're going to double click on our player, and we're going to click on reload rifle. Sorry, idle rifle. And we're going to select image point, edit the image points. And if we click on image point 1, it's on the tip of his gun for frame 0. But for frame 1 to 19, it's not set. So what we need to do is click back on frame 0, and we're going to right click on image point 1 and apply the whole animation. Cool. Now that that's fixed, we need to fix our ammo text. So we're going to go to our game event, and we are going to open up player controls, open up on press for our reload, and we're going to copy this line of code, ammo set text. So we're going to right click on it, copy it, go up to your on startup layout, click on set ammo and paste it. And you want to paste it underneath each time you set ammo. Now whenever you start your layout, it'll change your ammo depending on what gun you have equipped. Now that we have our 3 types of guns working in the game, let's work on bringing some audio in. So first we're going to have to actually insert our audio object. So right click, insert new object, audio, cool. Now we need the source files. So to add sound files into our game, we come to our project files on the right of our screen, scroll down, right click on sounds and import. Click import again and click and drag to select all of our sounds. Click open, wait for them to finish encoding, and then click import. So we're going to start off by adding sounds to our main menu. So we're going to click on main menu event. And we've got our left click play text, but we don't actually have a way to get to our store. So before we do anything, we're going to right click on this code here, and we're going to copy, and then we're going to paste it. And we're going to change the condition to on left click play text. Sorry, shop text. Because this is the code that will take us to our shop layout. And we're going to change the action to say go to layout shop. Cool. Now for our main menu, I want to make a button click sound whenever I click our two buttons. And I also want some ambient music in our background. So let's start off with our button clicks. So on each of these button clicks, add an action, audio, play, and we're going to play the sound button click. Do it again for the bottom one, add action, audio, play, button click. Now that we've done that, let's add some background music to our main menu. So we're going to add an event, system, on start of layout, add action, audio, and we want to play, and we want to set it to looping because we want our main menu music to just go over and over again. And it's called menu loop, the audio file. So your file should look like this, audio loop, looping, and I'm going to set the volume to about -5. That's about -5 decibels, which is about a quarter of the volume quieter. As it says up here, -10 decibels is about half as loud as the sound from the file. So we don't want our menu music to be too loud. Cool. Now let's work on some audio for our shop. So we're going to go over to shop event sheet. And we'll start off with our button clicks. So as you can see, we've got 4 button clicks here. So for our first button click, on left click pistol text, we're going to add action, audio, play, and we're going to play the sound button click. For our main menu, left clicked on main menu text, we're going to add action, audio, play, button click. Now for our rifle and shotgun text, it's a bit different. So we're going to open up our rifle text, and on the end of the else statement, I want to add action, play, button click, and then I'm going to open up this rifle only equals 0 text. And on the end of this block of code, I'm going to add action, audio, play, and I'm going to play the broad sound, which is like kind of a sound that shows you that money's being spent. Now we're going to repeat this process for our shotgun text. So open it up. On the end of the else statement, we want to add action, audio, play, broad sound. Sorry, this one's button click. Then we want to come down to our money spending event. And we want to add action. And we want to add the action audio, play, and this one's broad sound. Awesome. Now that we've got our main menu sounds in our game, you may have noticed that when you go to shop and then come back to the main menu loop music plays over itself twice. This is because we need to check whether the menu loop is playing or not before we play it again. So we're going to make sure we go to our main menu event sheet. We're going to right click on our on start of layout green arrow, and we're going to add a sub event. And this sub event is going to be audio, is any playing. So this checks if any music is playing, and we need the opposite of this condition. So we're going to click on the condition of the event, which is just in here, and we're going to right click and invert the statement. Now this says if nothing is playing, and that's when we need to play menu loop. So we're going to drag our menu loop code down one line, just like that. Now let's add some sounds on the end of our guns. So we're going to go to our game event sheet. And first thing we need to do is make sure that our main menu music doesn't play during our game. So to do that, we're going to add action on start of layout. Audio, stop all. So this will stop all background noise that's still playing when we come to our game event sheet. Now we're going to open up our player controls group. And we're going to look for our on keyboard on R pressed. And we're going to add an action on the end of this. And the action is going to be audio, play, and we're going to play the audio file reload. Now let's add some sounds for our gunshots. So we're going to open up our bullet group. And we're going to open up these 3 lines of code here. Now for each, we're going to add action after our ammo we've decided whether we've fired our ammo or not. So underneath ammo text, set text ammo, we're going to add action, audio, play, and for our first one, which is equipped equals 0, it's going to be our pistol. For our second one, which is equipped equals 1, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to use rifle instead. And for our third and final one, which is equipped equals 2, we're going to add action, sound, play, and we're going to play the sound shotgun. Now these sounds are quite loud, so we might need to turn them down a bit. I'm going to set them to -10 decibels, which is about half the volume of the bass sound. So I'm going to do this for all 3. Simply double click on your line of code and change the volume to -10. Now you can tinker with this volume as much as you want until you get the perfect level for each of your sounds. Now that our guns have sound, let's work on sound for the rest of our game. So we're going to make sure we're in our game event sheet again, and we're going to come down to our interactions group, and we're going to open up our bullet on collision with zombie code, and we're going to add a sound for when we kill a zombie. So underneath the code, zombie has less than 0 health. We're going to add an action, and it's going to be audio, play, zombie death. Cool. And we're going to add some sound for when our player dies as well. So under on collision with zombie, we're going to add action, audio, play, and we're going to play the sound player defeat. Now, when we're defeated, we don't want to go straight back to the main menu. We want some sort of user feedback to show that we died. So we're going to add we're going to disable some of our movement, our shooting, and the interactions between this player and the zombie. And then we're going to wait 2 seconds before we go back to the main menu. So add another action underneath. System, and we're going to set some groups deactivated. So set group active, set it to deactivated, and our first one's going to be player controls so we can't move. I'm going to copy and paste this a couple times. Our second group that we're going to set deactivated is bullet. We don't want to be able to shoot. Our third group is going to be interactions. Cool, that should be enough. Now we're going to add an action underneath, which is going to be system, and we're going to wait 2 seconds. Finally, we're going to drag go to main menu underneath this 2-second wait. Now I've just realized that we didn't set group bullet deactivated when we won the game. So really quickly, we're going to open up our objectives group, open up our player on collision with objectives code, and we're going to copy one of these group deactivated. We're going to paste it again and change it to bullet. Now, because we didn't deactivate it, we probably didn't set it active as well. So we're going to scroll back up to the top And we're going to go to our onStartup layout, and we're going to copy and paste one of our active groups. And we're going to change one of them to be bullet. Cool. Now, we want some sound for when we pick up money. So we're just going to cheat and reuse the sound we used for when we purchase something at a shop, which is like a money sound. So we're going to add action here under interactions. We're going to add the sound brought sound. Now, I think our last bit of code is the sound we make when we pick up an objective. So we're going to come down to our objectives group. And we're going to look at the code player on collision with objective. And we're going to add an action. Audio play. And it's going to be called objective. Now, I was wrong. There's one more. We need victory music for when we win. So what we're going to do is open up this block of code, player on collision with objectives. And when we collect 5 objectives, we win. But we also want to play some sound to show, to help reinforce the fact that we won. So we're going to add action at the bottom of collected equals 5. Audio, play, and we're going to play victory music. Make sure to drag this victory music above the wait. And we're going to increase this wait time to be about 6 seconds. And with that, our game should be complete.